Everyone. This week's Parsha is Parshas Vayeira, Tavshin Pei Vav. We will start from the beginning. Vayeira Elav Hashem, where at this point, Abraham had just had his bris milah circumcision done. Vayeira Elav Hashem, Hashem appeared to him, Beiloinei Mamre, in the plains of Mamre, V'yoyshei Pesach Hayakachayim Hayayim, and he was sitting at the entrance of the tent in the heat of the day. So Rashi tells us, Hashem appeared to Abraham to visit the sick. This was the third day after his bris milah, his most difficult one, and Hashem appeared to visit him. Vayisa einav vayar, he lifted his eyes and he saw. V'nei shloisha anoshim nitzavim alav, behold, 3 people were standing over him. Vayar, he saw. Vayaretz likrasam mipesach ha'el, he ran to greet them from the opening of the tent. Vayishtachu arza, and he bowed down to the ground. Vayomar, and he said, Adonai, my Lord, if I have found favor in your eyes, do not leave your servant. Tells him, take some water, wash your feet, I'll bring you some food, etc. And this is the famous episode of Abraham feeding the travelers who are really angels in disguise. Now, what really should strike us right away is the fact that if we read the verses, Hashem appears to Abraham. Abraham is having a prophecy. And then he sees the 3 people coming or standing over him or coming, and he leaves. He's in the middle of a prophecy, and he just picks himself up and he leaves. It's kind of bizarre. Now, besides that, in Pasuk Gimel, verse 2 that we just read, it says, Vayomar, and he said, and he uses the word Adonai, so that's the word for Hashem, isn't it? But it means, what does the word Adonai mean? It means my master. So Rashi says in his first explanation that he was not addressing Hashem, rather he was addressing who appeared to be the leader of the 3, the greater of the 3. He addresses him and says, my master, don't leave, and everyone else is going to follow. That's Rashi's first explanation. The second explanation is that no, that the word Ado here means Hashem. It's Kodesh, Rashi says it's holy. And Avram is saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to Hashem, to wait until he runs and he takes care of the guests. So basically it's Hashem, if I find in your eyes, don't leave. Wait here, I'm going to take care of them and I'll come back. Again, how does one understand that? He's in the middle of having a communication with Hashem, and then he leaves. So the Talmud says that what we see from here is the following principle: hospitality is even greater than receiving the divine presence of Hashem. Because look, that's what Abraham did. Abraham went ahead. He was in the middle of a session, a connection, a prophecy with God, and he left to take care of the guests. So you see that's even greater than having a prophecy. Now that also needs explanation, right? That needs an explanation, because how does this one understand that? One would think the greatest experience, the greatest spiritual growth experience that a person can have on this earth is a prophecy, is that kind of connection with God, and you leave that to take care of a couple of travelers. Everyone doesn't know that they're angels. How does one understand that? Now, Rabbi Uziel Malevsky, Zechron Lebracha, he says, he calls what Avraham Avinu did, he calls it spiritual sacrifice. Avraham was giving up his spirituality, that spiritual experience, that spiritual growth that comes from a prophecy or interacting with God, and he leaves to go take care of these guests. He's clearly severing that connection, which means he's dropping from that spiritual height to take care of these guests. Abram was teaching us something called spiritual sacrifice, that you give up from your spirituality to take care of others. Now, it still needs explanation. Right. But to take it another step, which is a halacha that Rabbi Malevsky connects to this, and it makes sense that it is a connection. And here's the following halacha. This is brought down in Shulchan Aruch. You're studying Torah. You're into it. You're really into studying Torah. Then somebody taps you on the back and he says, "I really need a ride over to that store. And he really needs the ride. Can you help me?" So what's the halacha? You're in the middle of learning, which is the greatest mitzvah you can do. And here somebody needs your help. So what do you do?
You help the person.
So depends.
Okay.
Depends. If there's somebody else who can do it, then the other person should do it and you continue learning. But if there's no one else to do it, then that's what you do. You have to interrupt your learning and help the person. So that is pretty much what that's the same thing Avram Avinu did. Avram Avinu was connecting to Hashem through a prophecy. He interrupted it for the purposes of taking care of a person. And similarly, when you have that experience and connection to Hashem with Torah, nonetheless, you interrupt it for the sake of taking care of someone if that's what needs to be done. So we have Abraham setting a precedent of spiritual sacrifice. We even show another example of how far that goes, but how do we understand what's the understanding behind it? So I one time saw an explanation given by Rav Noach Weinberg, Zechreinu Livracha. Noach Weinberg was the founder of the yeshiva of Eish HaTorah, the famous outreach yeshiva, and he explained in the following way. He said, when you're experiencing prophecy, you're talking to God. I mean, in this case, there was no conversation going back and forth, but you're connecting to God, communicating with God. When you're doing a chesed, a kindness, you're acting like God. You're emulating God. It's greater to act like God than to communicate with God.
Okay. Interesting.
That's a very nice way of looking at it.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is also that, again, the example here, and this is what our sages, when they say this principle, they talk about hachnasas archim. That's what they talk about. But really, if you make that connection to what we said about learning, it's not just about hachnasas archim, it's any kindness. And according to this explanation that we just gave as to why it is greater, it applies to any kindness. It's not specifically hachnasas archim. Any kindness that you do, you're emulating God. It's greater to emulate God, to act like God, to be godly, than to be talking to God or connecting with God. Mm-hmm. So that would be the explanation behind what's going on here. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. Okay. And well, actually, let's move on to the next thing. And that is, I thought I was going to say something else. Okay. All right. Now, when this Pasuk Beis, verse 2, after we read how Hashem appeared to Avram, it says he saw three men. Okay, so Rashi tells us who these three men were. Now, as we know, they were not men, they were angels. But there were three of them. Mm-hmm. Why three? So Rashi says, Echad l'vaser Sarah. One was coming to let Sarah know she's going to have a child. Avram already knew that. And for whatever reason, he didn't tell her. Okay? And now, the angel is going to come to let her know. Okay? The Echad l'afar chesdom. One is coming to overturn, to destroy Sodom, which is the next part of the next episode of the parish, the destruction of the city of Sodom for being so evil. The Echad l'rapis es Avraham, and one is coming to heal Abraham. So that's why you have three. Each one has their own job. So the question is, one angel can't do all three? It's not capable? And Rashi explains, Shein malach echad oiseh shtei shluchios. One angel doesn't do two jobs. Okay? An angel is an agent to do one thing and not to do two things. Okay? So therefore he did it all three. All right. Now, I think it's worthwhile just pointing out, and I'm not going to get into it, but it says one was coming to let Sarah know, one was coming to overturn Sodom, and one was coming to heal Abraham. Why did the one that was going to overturn Sodom have to come with them? Why do you have to come now? He could show up later.
Right.
So I don't have an answer to that, but just want to point that out now. But Rashi himself continues, and he says like this. Now, first of all, do we know which angels they were? Do we know their names? So Rashi is going to tell us one name, but the Medrash tells us their names. And in a very simplistic way of explaining things, in the world of angels, which we believe there is a world of angels, you kind of have, I hope I'm using the right word, there's a bit of there's a hierarchy.
Right.
You've got like 4 main angels, right? And you have other angels. But there are 4 main angels, okay? There is Gabriel,
Right.
Michael, okay, Raphael,
Right.
and Uriel,
Right.
okay?
Those are the 4 main ones.
Those are the 4 main ones, okay? Who came here? So the one who came to let Sarah know was Michael. The one who came to overturn, to destroy Sodom was Gabriel. And the one who came to heal Abraham was Raphael.
2 jobs.
One minute. Okay, it was Raphael. Now the word Raphael is right to the word refuah, healing.
Right.
Okay, now Rashi points out later on, Raphael sheripa es Abraham, halach misham lahatzel eslot. Raphael, who healed Abraham, he's the one who went to save Lot. Okay? Now, so Raphael healed Abraham and he saved Lot. After this episode, it says 2 of the angels went to Sodom, and those 2 would be 2 of the 3 went. So Rashi's saying you have one, which Rashi doesn't say his name, but one is Gabriel, is going to destroy. And then one of them also saved Lot, which was Raphael. So now we should have a question, right? Didn't we just say one angel doesn't do 2 jobs?
Right. Yeah,
Should be a question.
Right.
So the answer that's going to have to be is that the idea of a malach not doing 2 jobs, 2 Rashi words were shluchios. I want to see how they missions. Thank you. Okay, thank you. He's not before 2 missions. Okay, so now in order to answer this question, we're going to have to kind of broaden what mission means, right? Mission is not as specific as one specific mission, right? Your mission is to go ahead and do this one thing of healing Abraham. So how could you go in and save Lot? No, the mission wouldn't be as narrow as that. The mission could be broader. The mission would be something like, the angel Raphael, who is, again, has the word healing in him, maybe the angel whose mission is to save you from trouble that you're in, right? If you're sick, right, you need to be taken out of that challenge, out of that suffering. If you need to be saved, you have to be taken out of that suffering, out of that trouble. So the job of Raphael, although it sounds specifically healing, right, but it could very well be that his mission is a mission of saving. Now, to elaborate on this a little bit more, I want to share with you how Rabbi Uziel Malevsky Zechariah Lebracha explains what's going on here with these angels. Okay, meaning, why was Michael the angel who told Sarah?
Right.
Also, why was it even necessary to tell Sarah? Why did she need to be told a year in advance? One day she'll wake up and she'll be pregnant. And wow, okay, Hashem is done a miracle, right? And then and she has to be told about it beforehand. So he explains that the angel Michael, let's examine his name. His name is Michael. There are 2 words that make up his name. Michael, or Kakel. Who is like God? That's his name. Gabriel has the word Gevura, Gever, Gevura, might. Okay? Raphael has the word refuah, healing, in it. So he explains that the way to look at an angel is that an angel is I'm going to tell you, I want to read you how he says it. It's very interesting how he says it. He says angels are forces. Just like we have forces in the physical world, right? There's gravity, there's magnetism in the physical world. Angels are forces of the spiritual world, what's called the spiritual realm, because they are operating within this world. But they are forces, or call them energies, within the spiritual world. Machal represents the force of emunah, the force of a belief and faith in God. And that's his name, Mikael, who is like God. He represents the force of emunah, of faith in God, which means that, and there are others who say this idea also, that emunah is clearly faith in God, belief in God is something that we develop within ourselves, something that's within ourselves. But it also is a force. It also makes differences. It makes things happen. And in the case of Sarah, Michal was letting Sarah know about this child because her job now, a year ahead, was to have the emunah, to have the faith and belief that she will have that child. That although she was already 90 years old and she wasn't able to have children age-wise, she wasn't, according to the Talmud, even physically able to have children. But her job now was to have the faith that she will have that child, and that will be the force that will enable her to have the child. Now, if you think about it, if you learn a little bit further on in the Parsha, it says she laughed when she heard it.
Right.
And she was rebuked for that laughing, which according to this approach, right, it sounds like she kind of right away didn't do it correct, didn't have that faith as she should have, and we can assume that she corrected herself afterwards. But the Malach Michal is the one letting her know, because Michal is the force of emunah, the power of emunah, and that was the power that she needed to utilize to be able to merit the fulfillment of that promise. Okay, Gavriel comes from the word gavura, might, strength. When the force of strength is the force of judgment. When you talk about judgment, strict judgment, punishment, that expresses God's might. That's where we see God's might, his control over the world, his control over the situation. And that's God's might. So Gavriel, the power, the gavura, the might of God, right? Gavriel, that was the malach that destroyed Sodom. Okay. Raphael is the angel of healing. That means it's the energy of healing, or we're trying, the way I understand it, according to Rabbi Levsky, it's the energy of salvation. And that was going to be the force that was going to now, first of all, heal Abraham, and secondly, allow Lot to be saved. Now, Rabbi Levsky says something very interesting when he says that actually Michal could have saved Lot. Because if Michal is the force of emunah, of belief and faith in God, if Lot has the proper faith in God, he'll also be saved.
Sure, yeah.
But apparently he didn't, or he wouldn't have. Mm-hmm. Meaning when the angel says, again, the angels came to Sodom, he also thought they were people. Right. But then he also finds out that they're angels, right? So if his faith of the angel coming here to save him would have been strong enough, then the angel Michal could have been the one. But the angel Michal wasn't the one, didn't come, because of the fact that Lot was not on that level. And therefore, Lot had to come onto the angel Raphael, the angel of salvation, to be able to be saved. But if he would have been on that level to have the proper trust and faith in God that he could be saved under these circumstances, the angel Michal could have done it. But he didn't, and therefore it was the angel Raphael. Okay, now we have one more angel, Uriel. He's not even here. He's not here. Now, what's his energy? What's the energy of Uriel? So let's look at the name Uriel. Uriel means Uri, or Ori, my light. God is my light, right? That's the energy of light. That's the energy of truth. That's the energy of being able to see things clearly and properly. Where does that come from? That comes from Torah. Uriel is the energy of Torah. And, the way Rabbi Levsky says it is we didn't have the Torah yet. So Uriel wasn't here.
Right.
Now I don't know what Uriel would have done anyway, but
Right.
but so I don't know if that works. I don't know if you have to say that anyway. But that's the fourth angel, Uriel. But these are the three angels that came here then, at that point of time. And Rabbi Levsky's explanation is a very interesting one in explaining like why each one came, what each one represents, why each one did what he did, and at the end, why it's not called doing two missions, because the mission is a broader idea. Since the angel is not just like, you're dispatching someone to do something, right? So he's got a mission, he can't do a second mission. The angel is a force, a specific force. Yes, and and each force has its place, right? An angel is a force, and that's what that force is, and that force doesn't do two things together. But the point is, though, that as a force, it's something that can be seen broader, in a broader sense, and therefore, the angel Raphael could do both. He could heal Abraham and also save Lot. Okay, have a good night, everyone. Thank you for listening.
Very good.